One of the questions we get asked all the time here at DIY Pools is why are we doing this? Why are we giving away industry secrets? Why are we helping people build wholesale? Wouldn't it just be way more profitable to build pools like all the other traditional pool companies? And yes, we would make a lot more profit if we made $30,000 off of every single one of our customers, but we choose not to do that. And I'm going to tell you a little bit about how we got started and why we're here and why we're doing this. If you don't know who I am, my name's Brandon Stevenson. I'm a second generation pool construction expert and the co-founder of DIY Pools and Spas. Our company helps families build their pools wholesale, which, as you can imagine, isn't as lucrative for us as if we were to build the pool for you and actually make the 30% profit margins that most pool companies do. But we got into this in a very interesting way. So I want to tell you a little bit about how we got started. So my dad, his name is Mike Stevenson. He actually started as a pool salesman in his early 20s and then went on to create his own pool company. So he started a pool company when I was just a little babe, and we grew that company as a family to a multi-million-dollar pool company. His pool company spanned multiple counties throughout Southern California, and his entire business just ran on referrals, meaning we didn't have to even advertise. Our phone was ringing off the hook. We had more customers than we could handle, meaning we were actually able to charge whatever we wanted. We were one of those top tier pool companies charging the big bucks because we had the demand. And so we could kind of cherry pick our customers and do what we wanted. Well, all of this was interrupted. And it started actually with my Uncle Dave. So my Uncle Dave wanted to build a pool, but we didn't live close enough for our pool company to actually build it for him. So he reached out to us. He was getting outrageous quotes and he was like, "Do you have any solutions?" So my dad pitched him to an idea. He said, you can actually do this as an owner builder if you just have the right plans and the subs and you knew somebody who could walk you through the process." And so he explained this to my uncle. He said, you can pull a permit as an owner builder. It doesn't require a licensing and I have all the resources. So let me walk you through this. Let's do this together as an owner builder. And my uncle agreed. And my uncle ended up saving $20,000 on his pool, but not just that, he built his pool in 6 weeks. So, as you can imagine, my uncle was stoked. And my dad at the time was also like, "Hey, that was pretty cool. I was able to help him. He saved a ton of money." And he thought to himself, one day I'm going to have to retire and pools are the only thing I know. So, I'm going to grab a domain name just in case one day down the road, I just want to do designs and plans for homeowners. And so he grabbed the domain name DIY Pools and Spas and sat on it. Now, this was all unbeknownst to me. I had no idea that my dad had done any of this. And I was off running my own business at this time. I was in my early 20s. I was a consultant for businesses trying to create online programs. So I would work with youth enrichment organizations, chefs, physical trainers, people in the health and wellness arenas, and I would help them to develop their programs so that their clients can move through and see success, see results. That's where my training was. And so I was doing that. And one day I'm woken up in the middle of the night. It was one of those, I don't know if you guys are believers, I am, and it was a God moment. If you get woken up and God is giving you something and like, "Hey, write this down," you just do it, right? And so I got out of bed and I'm writing down everything God is telling me. And He's telling me about this vision for a program to help homeowners build their pools wholesale and leaning on my dad's expertise to do it. And he gives me this whole vision. And I ask God, I'm like, this sounds really cool. What are we going to call it though? And God says, "You're going to call it DIY Pools and Spas." And I'm like, okay. So I write this all down. Well, I call my dad the next day and, we schedule a time to meet and go out to dinner. And craziest thing, I'm telling my dad, I got this download, if you will, from God, and He's wanting to create a program and I want to do this with you. Can we partner? And I'm explaining the whole thing to him and how it's going to work. And my dad is not tech savvy. You got to remember, my dad is, other generation, construction guy. He is not in the online world. So he's trying to wrap his head around how this is even possible. And I'm trying to, walk him through the steps and how we would develop a program like this, how that program would lean on his expertise and experience. Then I tell him, and God gave me a name, and the name is DIY Pools and Spas. And at that moment, my dad turns white as a ghost. He's shocked. And he's like, I own that domain. And I'm like, what? You own the domain? How do you own that domain? And he's like, I bought it like months ago. And it was this crazy, wild moment where there was just this big confirmation of like, this is what we're supposed to do. This is what we're being guided into. So we started the program, we built it out. And, for the first couple years, it was just something we were doing on the side. I had my business, my dad had his pool company. And we were like, hey, when people can't afford to work with your pool company or someone finds us online, we'll do an owner builder program for them. We weren't going all in. And that was until 2020. In 2020, as you all know, we went through a crazy experience in this country. And there were so many people doing home improvement projects. It got ridiculous. Pool companies were charging more than they ever have charged in history and making crazy amounts of profit during the pandemic. And so it was wild. And during that season where my dad's pool company could actually have blown up, like he could have charged tremendous amounts. He had more work than he could have ever taken on, and he could have just charged exorbitant amounts for these pools like all the other pool builders. But it was at that moment that God got in and said, I want you to turn your focus to DIY. And we're like, really? Right now? Okay. And we listened. And so we started putting our focus on DIY pools and spas. We built it out and started actually advertising it and letting people know what we were doing. And customers just started pouring in. So we had been doing this just like maybe, a couple people a month. It wasn't like a big thing before this, but now people were coming in droves. We were getting hundreds of people a month wanting to do our program. And it was wild. So we, just took it on. We said yes. And the craziest thing happened because DIY became nationwide in less than a year. It started as something we were doing locally just for homeowners that found us and wanted to do it, but it spread to be a nationwide company within just a year. And we had no idea that this was going to happen. And so it threw us off guard. We had our other businesses and suddenly we couldn't run our other businesses because we had so many customers in our program and we had to give our attention to them. And so I ended up shutting down my consulting business that I had built. My dad ended up walking away from his multi-million-dollar pool company so that we can both show up in DIY pools and help homeowners build wholesale. And we really feel like we were led to this by Holy Spirit. It was just one of those God moments where we felt like this is what we're supposed to do. And this is a way we can take our expertise, our experience, and we can give back in service to others. For a long while, I actually questioned this. I thought to myself, how, God, how is this service to others? I mean, I know we're helping people save money on a pool, but is this really what you want me to do with my life? The funniest thing happened because he's like, do the numbers. He wants me to do the numbers. I'm like, okay, I'll do the numbers. And so I took all of the customers we had in a single year. All right. This was 2022 that this actually happened. So I took everyone in 2022 that we had worked with. All right. Every family. And I calculated how much they had saved working with our company. The number blew me out of the water. We saved American families in 2022 $30 million. That number was pretty shocking to me when we added up all the savings of all of our customers. And God said to me, that's $30 million that is going back into the livelihoods of families. That just touched me. And I was like, wow. That's why we're doing this. We're not doing this just to save people money. We're doing this because the money you save is actually money that's going back into your livelihoods, back into your family dynamics, whether it's, college funds, paying off debt, taking care of your family and buying groceries, whatever it is. that money that you're saving, building your pool this way, is money that is reinvested into your livelihood. And I really feel like that is why we were called to do this, is because family is so important to us. You know, we're a family run business. We love family. We believe that family values are actually what shape the world we live in. And so having a pool is not just having this beautiful thing in your backyard. It is an investment in your family. And when you invest in your family and you create a space in your backyard where your family can come together and hang out, you are creating memories that are going to last a lifetime. And the ripple effect of that through generations is so powerful. And the money you save doing it this way is money going back into your livelihoods, another ripple effect that goes down into your children and into the next generation. And I really believe that's why we've been called to this work. Yeah, sure, we can make way more money if we just built pools for other people and made 30% off every project. But it's not about the money. It's about service to others. It's about how can we show up? How can we make a difference? How can we actually help more families achieve that dream and create those memories that are going to impact their children and their children's children? And I believe that's why we're here. And so if you want to learn more about who we are, what we do, and how we help, you can check the links below this video. Thanks for hanging out with me today and letting me get a little bit vulnerable with you guys. Have a beautiful day.